Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Liminality interview series number 10. This is our final installment. It's been really exciting to talk about all these different aspects of liminality with people the last few weeks during my book launch. I'm hoping this is a precursor to the podcast through the portal that I have coming this summer. And tonight, for my very last interview, I have visiting with me tonight Dawn Staub, who is an amazing lot of things. She is an author and she is also a coach and trainer for people who are caregivers. So she is, in essence, a caregiver of caregivers. So thank you so much for being here with me tonight, Dawn. Welcome.
Oh, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm
I'm
looking
really
forward to it.
good. Yeah, me too. We really kind of wrestled back and forth with time zones and we made it happen. So I'm really proud of us. I would love for you to sort of jump in with telling people who are the people you serve? Because I have a feeling that several people who are going to be watching this are going to find themselves right in this circle. I have countless friends. I told you a few minutes ago that I um, can't even count on one hand how many people I know who are caregiving for loved ones right now, and whether that's a child or a spouse or a parent. So would you tell us who these people are that you're serving and what are they struggling with? What are they up against?
Yeah, so actually, I work within a healthcare system and I see a lot of professional caregivers. And professional caregivers are usually offered support. We do a great job of seeing, especially post COVID, that these people just really need this additional support. What I really have found though is people are often referred to as informal caregivers. And that's just somebody who hasn't been trained, isn't doing this professionally. And like you said, they're, caring for maybe a special needs child of theirs. They're caring for a spouse. They're caring for their parents. They are people who didn't go into this as a profession, but are finding themselves really needing to immerse themselves and self train on all of the medical technology that's out there. And those people don't have the support and the resources that professionals get.
Yeah, I have chills just up my scalp listening to you talk about it because it's such a learning curve. I remember the time that I was the main caregiver for my parents, and it's aspects like finances and health and what options are available to you and making those appointments. It is just a massive amount of stuff, and it is so overwhelming.
Yeah, and it was interesting because even as I read your book, one of the things that kind of popped into my mind is, you have someone who's preparing for retirement. Like there's that liminal space. They
Yeah,
know it's coming.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, what they thought was going to occur shifts. And it's like, okay, you don't have 5 years to retirement. You need to figure out, are you going to early retire to take care of, yeah, a parent who needs that caregiving? Um, and so financially, it just throws things into a tailspin. And even when people are preparing for one role, you know, a mother, for the first time, she's saying, like, oh, yeah, I'm getting the nursery ready, I'm doing this, and then gives birth and finds out that her child has a chronic medical condition. And so that just totally shifts uh, that, I knew it was coming. I didn't know that this
This
was
was
coming.
coming. Oh my gosh, it's that piece. We had a conversation with Laura Wellman a few weeks back on the liminality of diagnosis itself. And that is almost like, gosh, I've never even thought about it before, but like sort of a liminality within a liminality. That a lot of the times these caregiving situations start with an unexpected diagnosis, and you're thrust into a liminal space that you didn't necessarily choose. Like you said, I didn't know this was what was coming.
Right.
Wow. So I would love to hear the wisdom that you could pass on to people who are listening on how caregivers who are often overwhelmed and fatigued and unsupported or not as well supported as they might need to be, how can they take care of themselves, Dawn? Like, where does self-care happen in a life like this?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I hear so often people talk about and discount, like, I don't have time for self-care. This isn't about me, this is about my loved one.
Mm,
But I really try to get people to see that professional caregivers, one, they've been trained. Two, they have an ethical oath that they say, I'm not going to provide direct care to my loved ones. And we do that because we know emotion changes the dynamic of that caregiving role. But we're seeing more and more people who are actually taking on that primary caregiver role, and that's getting pushed to the side. So those people need to make sure that they are taking that time for self care and getting, quote, time off.
yeah,
And so that looks different. And I get that. It's one of the things I say to people. I know you may not get to like go get in your car and, quote, go on vacation, but we talk about like mini vacations. When you have home health coming in, do you really need to stand there and watch them do the
right.
bathing?
I'm
That's your
thinking of somebody
time.
in particular. I won't out them. Yes. Go away. Have a breather.
Right. That's your time to take your mini vacation. Even if you're not leaving your house, that's okay too. But that's a great opportunity to, I'm going to go up to my bedroom. I'm going to take a chance to read something for me.
Take a
Uh,
shower,
exactly. Um, I'm going to paint my nails. I'm literally going to wash my face.
right?
Like,
Something where you're not having to hurry,
right.
thinking about
And
when you have to be back.
people will push off even the simplest things and say, I don't have time.
Mm,
But then I'll ask, how long does it really take to wash your face? And you're going to tell me you don't have time for that. Like,
yeah, it's the mindset shift. I keep thinking of that announcement they make when you get on the airplane, for mothers to put or parents to put the air oxygen on themselves before they help the child. That it's like the perfect analogy to what you're talking about.
100%. Um, and I often will say to people, like, you didn't take on the role of being a caregiver because you wanted to be cared for. But
Mhm.
if you ignore you, that is where you are heading. 100%.
Oh gosh.
And I have some worst case scenarios where I have, someone who came in and told me, like, my mother was my dad's primary caregiver. She wasn't going to the doctors. He passed away. She finally went for a follow-up appointment that was supposed to be done like 3 years earlier,
Sure.
was diagnosed with cancer and died 8 months later.
Yeah.
And there they were dealing with losing both of their parents.
Right. I think about what Gabor Mate says in The Myth of Normal. He talks about over functioning people who work outside their window of tolerance so much, it brings on illness. That constant chronic stress brings
Mhm.
on illness and gets stuck in your body because you're not processing it. So it doesn't surprise me to hear you say that, that people are just on the heels of whoever they were caring for because they're carrying all of that so much.
Yeah, and that's part of what my book focuses on, is that idea of self-regulation.
Okay.
Things outside of us do not create our stress. And
Mm,
when people hear that, they're like, "No, you're wrong." And then when you really get into it and you explain what you mean by that, it is sitting in a tight body which creates distress within us.
mm,
That is what ends up becoming harmful. We can have a relaxed body. We can have uncomfortable things happening outside of us. We don't have to hold that inside.
yeah,
And that's difficult practice when we're not talking about caregiving.
yeah, right. That's hard. That's a challenge for all of us.
Right.
But then put yourself into that role and it ups the ante a little. I love that you just mentioned your book. I really wanted to make sure I told people about this because I had just, from the moment I heard about it, we were in a workshop together last September. I thought, oh my, how this is needed. This is so, so needed. And I love the angle that you come at everything from. So I want to make sure that I tell people to follow Dawn Staub on social media, or she has a website that is dawnstaub.com, and you can sign up on her newsletter to make sure that you know her book's going to be coming out in a few months. And Dawn, I just can't thank you enough for just having this little snippet of a conversation with me. I hope that I can have you back this summer when I do my podcast and we can have a longer conversation about it. I think that that would be fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
So thank you for what you do. Thank you for this niche that you are filling. It is such a need, and I'm so just absolutely impressed and thankful for the work that you do. Thank you. And
Oh, thank you
everybody,
for having
thank you
me.
for being here for the Liminality series, and keep being your authentic self.